Let's kick it in, Canes fans. Miami football talk here at the Voice of College Football Miami for the next 60 minutes. You got Cam Underwood. Don't waste him. You got him for 60 minutes. Let's do it right here at the Voice of College Football. Cam, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. Good. Good to be back. Sorry, I had a last-minute development from the secret day job last week, which precluded me from being here with you guys. But here I am, back live in the flesh, here to talk some Hurricanes and everything. So, yeah, got the black colorway on, got my Detroit Pistons Martin mashup. What's up? Pistons shirt, hoodie and everything. So that, when I saw this come out, it was not a matter. It was literally the meme, show me my, take my money. It was just, I was waiting on a link to purchase it. So I obviously had to cop the hoodie and everything. So, and it's Florida cold here. So, hoodie weather and everything, and going with the theme of the Chiron there at the bottom of the screen, figured let's go all black everything tonight and make it happen. So yeah, here we are.
Yeah. So this is not me ignoring or not attending to the color scheme for the show. This is me going with the black motif. Where's the black uniforms?
Exactly. We got the best Merc squad, all black uniforms in the game. Hey, everybody wants to call us villains and everything, and villains are usually personified or dressed in black in a variety of media and everything. So hate on us if you want to. We're all good with it. And I know I got my Schoolhouse Rock blue T-shirt peeking out from underneath the collar. So if you're wondering what that blue is, it's not Honolulu blue for the Detroit Lions, a team that we're going to mention also in passing a little bit later. You'll see why, but yeah, that's not that. But yeah, anyways.
Are the Pistons any good this year?
No.
Okay.
No, very terrible. Pistons superstar Cade Cunningham is having a good rookie season, but we're also looking like a top 2 or 3 pick this next year to pair another player with him. Because not great. Worst shooting team in the league. And as somebody who I was not a professional or anything, but the thing that I did best in the world of basketball was hustle, and 1A to that was shoot the basketball, because my father made me shoot 1,000 jumpers in the summer. Like, I'm one of the few people who has actual textbook jumper form, because growing up in the 80s, I would get hit with something or throwing something at me if I didn't have, perfect. So, and seeing the Pistons not being able to either have that form or the performance of the ball going through the basket is a little challenging for me. But you know what? Hey, we have 3 championships to our credit, and hopefully this is the path towards building towards another one down the line.
And other than the Cavs run under LeBron James, of course, and their championship series against the Warriors, in which, because of my son and that relationship, watching all those games and getting involved, I would say the Pistons, they beat the Lakers, in 05? That would be 04. That would be one of the last NBA championship series that I was really invested in.
Should have won in 05, but Rasheed Wallace left Robert Horry open in the corner. And Big Shot Bob did Big Shot Bob things, and they annoyed the Game 7. But hey, we digress. Anyway,
we did.
Here to talk to Miami Hurricane.
And maybe during a dead time, it would be an interesting debate or discussion, I should say, because I've always considered Robert Horry to have one of the more interesting careers in the history of American sports.
Absolutely.
It's like a 6-point score per game in his career that has knocked down tons of legendary shots.
Exactly.
Crazy.
He got the moniker Big Shot Bob for a reason,
All right. We fail, meaning myself, to segue smoothly from Robert Horry to Kevin Smith. I gave it about 3 seconds of thought and couldn't come up with anything, but you will fill us in, of course.
Well, it was Big Shot Bob to a big time coach, we call it, coming over following Mario Cristobal. Not a direct analogy there, but the segue maybe. So we talked 2 weeks ago about Mario Cristobal bringing over some of the assistants that had previously worked with him at Oregon: Aaron Feld, the strength and conditioning coordinator; Joe Salavea, the defensive line coach / Alex Mirabal, and Brian McClendon. Now, on top of that, we have now announced Kevin Smith, a Miami native, coming back home to the crib to be the running backs coach here at Miami. A little bit about him, and this is where I was talking about that Honolulu blue. He was a draft pick of your Detroit Lions, played there for 3 years before going to Canada, before getting into coaching. He played his college ball at UCF and had one of the great college football seasons ever for a running back. It was pretty incredible. If you look up the stats, which I should have had already open, in 2007, Kevin Smith ran the ball 450 times for 2,567 yards, a 5.7 yard average, and 29 touchdowns to go along with 24 catches for 242 and a score. And that those were not his career numbers. That was a singular season at almost 2,600 rushing yards, which is really, really incredible. I mean, he led the nation in scoring with those 29 touchdowns. So, knows what he's talking about and demonstrated it on the field. He was, a little bit of a tweener coming out of high school, so he was more of a 3-star kind of a guy. Not the fastest recruit in the world or player, so that's why he landed at UCF. But then when he got to UCF, he did numbers. Like I said, then was drafted by your Detroit Lions, Honolulu Blue. There's the tie-in. Played there for 3 years, played in Canada for a year, and then he got into coaching. Was a grad assistant in a couple places, and then he really started as a running backs coach, I think it was 4 years ago, with Lane Kiffin at FAU. He coached Devin Singletary, the starting running back for the Buffalo Bills up there. It was maybe 5 years ago then, because it's been a couple of years. So he did that, recruited him, got him there, coached him up, got him to the league, followed Lane from FAU to Ole Miss, where he was running backs coach, did a great job, very solid recruiter, got a few 4-stars out of South Florida, like a Braylon Brown, a wide receiver, like a Henry Parrish, the running back from Christopher Columbus High School to go over there. That was one that was hotly contested. If you remember watching these shows right here, everybody wanted Henry Parrish. Miami went with Donald Chaney Jr. and Jalen Knighton, who I believe were the higher ceiling guys in that class. And you can go look up the videos. I absolutely would have taken Henry Parrish, 100%. We didn't have room for 3 that year. And again, you've got to make a choice. And unfortunately for Parrish, the choice was elsewhere. And then he went there to Ole Miss, and he did, very well. Had more than 550 yards rushing this past season. And then Kevin Smith comes back to Miami. He's already on the road recruiting. And then immediately after that, Henry Parrish goes in the transfer portal and has already announced his commitment to the University of Miami. So he's going to continue to play for Kevin Smith. And there's your first recruiting win for Kevin Smith, getting a 4-star from Miami back to Miami, which has been the theme. If you look recently, DeAndre Johnson went to Southridge. He played at Tennessee. He came back home. Frank Ladson confirmed also this week as well. This past week between shows, because we had an off week last week. Frank Ladson from South Dade and Homestead. He's coming back and he's playing at Miami. He's another guy who chose elsewhere at first. Tyreek Stevenson did the same thing last year. His high school teammate, that would be Ladson, he did it a year early where he left Georgia, your now national champions, to come home and play at Miami. And then you add in Henry Parrish as well. So there's a clear theme of guys who are from here who elected to go elsewhere, or in a Parrish's case, we elected other guys to take other guys in front of them, are coming back home. And this just supports the thought that, first of all, if you give guys from Miami and from this area a singular reason to be here, they'll take it. Look back to what Nigel Kelly said when he committed to Miami and everything. He wasn't feeling the previous coaching staff. That was his reason to, new coaching staff comes in, like a week later, he signs. So it's one of those things. And Kevin Smith is a dynamic recruiter. Like I already said, he has multiple 4-stars to his credit that he's signed from South Florida. If you look even further again, Devin Singletary, a 3-star guy, he fits a system really well. He's not the world's greatest athlete, but man, he fit what they did, and Kevin Smith coached him up, and you can still see him in the league using that zone cut, one cut and go ability is pretty great, right? So if you're trying to have him do other things, it might not have worked, but they got him, they fit that system, they developed that skill, and now he's in a system in the league that supports that as well. And you see that he's a starting running back on a team that's going at least to the second round of playoffs, and we'll see how far that they can go, because Devin Singletary is the running game component to balance against Josh Allen, who's, one of the, handful best quarterbacks in football. So if you're like, okay, cool, so this guy propping up that offense in terms of the running game was recruited and developed by the guy who's now here at Miami as running backs coach. You should be happy about that. I will also say, on the way out, a big thank you to Eric Hickson as running backs coach. Did a yeoman's job in recruiting. This is adding to an already stacked room, right? So you have Donald Chaney, you have Jalen Knight, you have Cody Brown, who I know some people don't really like, but whatever. He wears Underwood family number 24, big guy, not the most wiggle, but whatever, a 4-star recruit, and Thad Franklin. All those guys were already in the room. Now you bring in the Henry Parrish on top of that. The foundation, was set by Eric Hickson. He coached those guys well. He recruited really well, and he's going to land on his feet somewhere. And I mean, he should be really proud of the work that he did at the University of Miami. And I mean, that should be the shining star on his resume so far. And if he wants to go back to his alma mater, Kansas State, they should be breaking their backs to bring him in. I mean, like, whatever they got to do, or any of these other teams that have a running backs coach position, Eric Hickson, you could do much, much worse. And I mean, I don't want to let that go by the wayside of giving him his credit for what he did. And he's not the most gregarious, outgoing person, like I was talking about this in terms of secret day job. I know, like, I work with some people who, like, they're in a meeting and they don't talk. And I'm like, I'm a talker. I was a singer. Like, I'm going to be one of those people who's like, well, I have something to say about that topic. Eric Hickson's not that. He's a very reserved, a few words, especially in, around, like, outside the program. Because you even hear from other assistant coaches, like, say things and they do interviews like once a week or, every here and there. Eric Hickson wasn't that, but he did the darn job. And I want to be sure that we give him his credit as we transition to Kevin Smith. So it wasn't like deficient performance. We are going in a new direction. But Eric Hickson, really, really a good job. And I can't wait to see what he does next, because that's a very, very good coach, and somebody's going to get a very, very great part of their program and their coaching staff when they hire Eric Hickson.
All right. My 2 cents on the last two individuals that were discussed, Kevin Smith. So I got to say that when I heard the name Kevin Smith, I was like, Kevin Smith, because I knew of Kevin Smith, a UCF running back. And folks, if you're into stats or you just watch football, which all of you do, 450 carries in a season. That's insane. So do the math. 14 games played that year. 30 carries a game would be 420. So he's not carrying the ball 30 times one week, and then he's back down to 12 or 15. And then, a couple times he jumped up at the averaging like 33 carries a game. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. And I just checked the schedule, and it was what I expected. So UCF, being where they are right now, was in the same type of conference then. Conference USA transitioned into what is now the American Conference. So a lot of East Carolina and Memphis and that sort of thing. But they also played Mississippi State, Texas, and NC State. I do remember that season now that I see it on the screen out of Kevin Smith. So that's crazy. I don't know how that relates to him being a running backs coach. But if anything, he can certainly preach some toughness.
And like, why should I trust you, coach? Why, if you're saying that, go look at the numbers, go watch the film. I've done it, in a different way than Alex Mirabal, because you're looking at a 5'6" offensive line coach. Like, I'm this big 6'7", 6'8" dude. And Mirabal can say, I've coached all these guys, Penei Sewell, all these dudes, I've developed them. So I know what I'm talking about in terms of work product. For Kevin Smith, not only has he developed Devin Singletary and Henry Parrish and what's the other guy? Jerrion Ely and, Matt Corral and John Reese Plumlee in that running game as well. Because, obviously they're in with that. Not only that, on the coaching front, go look up my movies. Go look at the crooked numbers. And go do the math. 33 times I had the ball a game, average, for however many. Go look it up. So if you want to know why to do that, have you gone through a 14-game college season and scored 2+ touchdowns a game? Have you? Because I have. So like it adds the personal performance on top of the coaching acumen as well.
Those numbers are crazy.
They're so stupid. I love it.
Frank Ladson. If you love college football, if you watch the other teams, you probably have heard the name, even though he hasn't done anything significant on the field, just being attached to Clemson. And of course, the evaluation coming out of high school as a top 10 receiver in the country, number 7, according to the 247 Sports Composite, a top 40 player, regardless of position. So this guy is ready to be coached up and be healthy and ready to contribute. Wow.
Hopefully, and Ladson, it was Ladson and Stevenson in high school. Well, Stevenson left Homestead and went to South Dade. I'm sorry, he went to South Ridge his senior year. While Ladson stayed there at Homestead with some other guys who were younger, like the Keyshawn Washington and Jaden Francois, who committed 17 different places 22 times, and some of those other guys from South Dade. He stayed there. But no, he was that dude. He's 6'3", 205. He's not like had a championship winning touchdown, but you've probably seen he had one really nasty one-handed over the shoulder touchdown catch in the end zone for Clemson. And you probably, so he's flashed that performance. He has battled some injuries and things like that, but he's coming down here looking to step into the role of Charleston Rambo or KJ Osborne, going into the transfer portal and getting someone who ends up being the number one receiver on that team. And he has a dimension of height and size that is otherwise lacking in the wide receiver room. Most of your size is going to be inside at tight end. So, you've seen KJ Osborne, who's still, crafting a very nice career for himself with the Minnesota Vikings. He came in, ended up being, the number one wide receiver that year, transferring in from the University of Buffalo before he gets drafted. You have Charleston Rambo, who simply came in and rewrote the record book with the most catches and most yards in a single season in Miami Hurricanes history, the storied history of the Miami Hurricanes and all of the wide receivers that you want to think about. He sits atop that list after 1 year. So now he transitions out, and then Frank Ladson's like, I'm going to come back to the crib, I'm going to play with my high school teammate, Tyreek Stevenson, all these other guys, because they all know each other in the world of, high school, prep football and everything. And personally, I'm trying to slide into that position that number 11 had, because if he was the number one guy, I'm trying to be that. Now, it's not going to be an easy task, because especially those freshmen turning sophomores in the wide receiver room, that Keyshawn Smith and Jacoby, George, Romello, Brinson, Xavier, Restrepo, Brashard Smith, even if you extrapolate that out to, I think Michael Redding Jr., did he leave? He might have. I don't know, but he's might still be on the roster. I might look at that one. But, those guys are not going to give that up without a fight. Daz Worsham's still on the roster. He was an All-American in high school, rewrote the record book at Hewitt-Trussville High School. So, yeah, he did have a hip injury his senior year, which did take a while to come back from and everything. But that's another All-American 4-star recruit. So those guys are not going to just say, hey, we're going to let Frank Ladson come in here and be the number one wide receiver just because that's what happened with Charleston Rambo. What they're going to say to themselves is, Charleston Rambo did that last year because I needed another mango season. And even when I got out there, I made plays. Romello Brinson didn't have that many catches, but one of the catches he did have, number one on SportsCenter top 10, because I jumped over and around a dude and caught the ball falling down with one hand, being interfered with on the other side of my body. So you want to foul me over here, right? It's like basketball. Keep the foul. Give me the bucket because I caught that one. Give me the touchdown. Cue up the band. Let's change the scoreboard, right? So now I flashed that. I'm not flashing anything. I'm ready to step into that greatness. And if you want to come in here, Frank Ladson, and you think that you're going to step into that role, I'm going for that role. So you're going to beat me for that role. It's going to be different. But adding someone of Frank Ladson's caliber, you should be very excited about. So if you're looking, okay, maybe a bigger wide receiver who can be the X in the offense, fill in that role of a Charleston Rambo, Amon Richards, number one target, you can call a him play. Whatever it is, whatever your verbiage is, it's him. Throw him the ball. And if you want somebody of a bigger physical stature to try to do that, that can be Frank Ladson.
I would also think for Ladson, there would be this spark of optimism and hope, and maybe incentive would be that Clemson fell off a little bit last year for no other reason, or for the primary reason would be they couldn't throw the ball anywhere close to what they had in the past. And there were a lot of contributing factors. The offensive line's not that good. DJ wasn't nearly what they had at quarterback, and the wide receiver play wasn't great, but a lot of it was DJ. Uiagalelei wasn't what Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence was. So as a wide receiver being the most dependent position on the field, it has to be somewhat disheartening when the ball's not coming your way, because number one, you're only throwing the ball 20 or 25 times a game because you can't throw the ball. So Dabo's running the ball to win 14-10 kind of games. And number two, it's just not coming your way because your quarterback's on his back, or he's just not very good and the ball's nowhere close to you. Listen. And now you see what Tyler Van Dyke can do and the numbers he's putting up, and you're like, man, I want to play with that guy.
Still on the greatest statistical run of any ACC quarterback ever. with consecutive games of 300 passing yards and multiple touchdowns. That run is ongoing. It is paused because the season is over, right? So, yeah, you have all of that kind of talent, and it's very different. Like, though Tyler Van Dyke is a much more skilled passer than DJU. Talked with my friend Fred. Shout out to Fred Purdue. And DJU, he needs to see people high school open. You know, and we've talked about this. Like, he needs to see the entire jersey come clear of a window, and then I will throw the ball. There's like zero anticipation, doesn't really feel or read the defense really well. And I mean, at the higher up that you go in the game, the smaller those windows are. In high school, okay, I'm going to see the full jersey. In college, I might see half of the man. And half of the man being open, like I was talking about with that Romillo Brinson touchdown, half of me being open, that's me being open. In the NFL, you might see a fingertip, you might not, you know what I mean, even, and throw it, and that's open. You know, like the shadow of a fingernail is open in the NFL. And DJU, yeah, he's still waiting to see guys come butt naked high school open. And I mean, are you going to scheme that and eventually get, you know, a coverage breakdown here and there? Yeah, but on a general 3rd and 7, you're not going to have guys come butt naked open. And that was a major part of the issue in the passing game, just because he doesn't have that. He can't see it, which is a struggle for them. But, you know, coming here for Frank Ladson, you're going from a quarterback like that to a quarterback like Tyler Van Dyke, who can see it and can sling it with as strong, if not a stronger arm than DJU, and way better demonstrated performance over the course of, you know, the season that he played. So that has to be exciting. Like, yeah. And again, not only is it exciting that he throws the ball, but you'd say a third of the catches and 40% of the yards that Tyler Van Dyke had throwing was to Charleston Rambo, and he's going to the league. Somebody has to get those catches and yards. If you're Frank Ladson, you're thinking, why not me? If not all of that, most of that. And that's a clear step forward. So, yeah, you should be excited about that. Also be excited about Henry Parrish because, again, if he's in the 550-yard range at Ole Miss, he's not necessarily coming here looking for 1,400 yards rushing, nor should he. Because we have all these running backs. So another 550, 600-yard rushing season, and you put that with these other guys in this running offense, that would be pretty good. And again, he's another high school blue chip. I think he might have been an All-American, but I mean, like another blue chip player. And he's demonstrated it at Ole Miss. So you're SEC West, and you're playing against some of the best competition, not the best competition around, and doing the job. You know, so when you bring in both of those guys and bring them home to play for the Hurricanes, you should be very excited.
Trying to think what restriction was put on me in a question that was offered by a viewer this week when they asked about a college football playoff participant that had never been there. So the every year question that you hear, if there's going to be a team that's going to make the playoff that's never made the playoff, who would that be? Well, I do think that there are some other programs out there that would be a more logical response, but they put another restriction on me, and I said, Miami. I'm not predicting them to go to the playoff. I just think that the potential is coming to form pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
Michael Love's in the chat. Good to see you, sir. And want to remind everyone that the super chat's on, so please make your contribution. Keep in mind that you keep the show going here at the Voice of College Football. And so you can make that contribution here in the super chat. Also, if you choose to bypass YouTube and go Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App and search MarkRogersTV, that you would indicate that you're contributing to the Miami show. All right. Michael is asking about offensive linemen and why not a bigger push in the portal.
In the portal?
I believe that's what he's asking.
Oh, I mean, it could be the portal of the recruiting class,
Yeah,
but I mean, I think
yeah.
We're on that path. You know, in our first visit weekend with Cristobal here, Dave Iuli, it isn't I-U-L-I, from Washington State, interior offensive lineman at 6'5", 320 almost. He visited. He was very strong on Cristobal and Mirabal at Oregon. And when they left and came to Miami, he said, Miami's in my top list. And I'm not going to lie, it's them two dudes. So, you know, really considering it, seemed to really have enjoyed himself. I think that Miami is in a good spot there. So that's a 4-star caliber, large gentleman to play on the inside of the offensive line. Matthew McCoy from St. Augustine. He's a 6'6", 290-pound 3-star offensive tackle. He also took an official visit last weekend. So there's that. And then, moving forward, we'll see if we get the number 1 tackle or number 4 in terms of 247, Josh Connerly Jr. from Seattle, Washington, to take a visit the last weekend, next weekend, the weekend before National Signing Day. That would be a big push and move because he has a relationship again with Mirabal and Cristobal when they were at Oregon. Washington's a neighboring state. Obviously, one of the best players around. You're going to try to do that, get him in that class. If he comes down here, for that visit, game on. And then we can see after signing day if there's anybody else or if we go the portal route. But we've already had 2 offensive linemen visit with another one, one of the best. Josh Connerly Jr. also won the Anthony Munoz Award for the All-American Lineman of the Year at the formerly Army All-American Ball, the All-American Ball, the Adidas All-American game. So, we have 2 linemen who have already taken an official visit, and the lineman who was named the best high school lineman in this class this year, potentially visiting next weekend. So there is a look at that. Mirabal and especially Cristobal. Cristobal played offensive line in Miami. He's not going to let it go by the wayside. But also, we're just not going to take, bodies to take bodies. In the past, we've had guys on this roster who should not have been here. We've reached just for a number at a variety of positions, but including and especially the big dudes up front, because it's tough to get bigger dudes. So you just okay, well, whatever big dude I can get, and that big dude ends up being trash. But Cristobal and Mirabal, I believe, really do have a plan for that, and that's been demonstrated across multiple different schools. So I'm going to trust their process of evaluation and recruiting to make that happen for us. But yeah, there have been moves along that path. There has not been any finality with commitment or signing or anything, but it's definitely not something that's going by the wayside.
We have about 240 online. We appreciate everybody being here. And I completely understand that for most of you, as long as you can get Cam's analysis and you've got a handful of people to interact with in the chat, that you're good to go and that's all you need. But understand it from my perspective in particular. We would love to have as many people in here as possible. And the more people we have in here, the more we are able to sustain this show and guarantee that we will continue it. So please help us out by hitting the like button, but also getting out there to your friends and family, those people that love Miami football in particular, but college football fans in general, because we do have other fan bases represented here. And just let them know that we are here every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time to talk Miami football. And let's increase this by 3 or 4-fold. There's no reason why we can't have 1,000 people here each and every Wednesday night with Cam. All right. Tyson is asking about Trevante Citizen, who is a top 100 prospect out of Louisiana and one of the 10 best running backs in the country, according to 247 Sports.
Yeah, Trevante Citizen is also scheduled to take an official visit next weekend, the last weekend before signing day. These next 2 weekends are going to be big. This weekend for future classes, next weekend for this current class. Trevante Citizen, we'll see. I think that maybe Miami is running behind Auburn right now. LSU could always circle back. I don't think that they're going to, but that's the cancel Christmas offer for anybody from the state of Louisiana. Landon Abeda, who was in this class for the longest time, a 3-star receiver, pretty much because he's white, but punt return, kick return, receiving, he was always open. He was always making plays, right? So if you watch the film, I don't care. You can be purple. If you move like that, bring him. And then Brian Kelly gets there and says, hey, why have we not offered this kid? Hold on a minute. Boom. He's like, yo, I'm going to Miami. That's it. Da-da-da-da. LSU pulls up, Louisiana native. Cool. See you later. I'm going to Baton Rouge, right? So that's always the thing that you need to be aware of or watch out for with anybody from Louisiana. But I really think that, Miami's in the battle. I think that if Trevante Citizen you have to have a little bit of faith, right? Both in yourself and in the process to have 5 4-star All-American running backs in the room already. And then you commit and sign there as the 6th and youngest. You have to have confidence in yourself that you can develop and get on the field, and faith in the process that if you do not start day one or early in season one, like what's Buddy's name? 32 for O State, Travion Henderson. My God, what a monster. But if you're thinking, cool, I'm going to be exactly like that, where game 3, I'm the number 1 running back, 80% of the carries are coming my way, boom, 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 boom. If you think that that's going to happen at Miami, probably not, and probably not year 1, right? So if that is your main focus, if you remember the NCAA recruiting game, right? What was the most important? If it's immediate playing time, I'm not sure about Trevante Citizen coming down here. However, Kevin Smith is a hell of a recruiter. I think that we're building something, and the guys in front of him are going to cycle out probably pretty quickly. So maybe not in 22, but 23, 24, you can make a real big case for Trevante Citizen being the number 1 running back on this team, hopefully. But it's going to be a battle, and as of right now, I do not expect him to be a Hurricane. But let that visit happen next weekend, and we'll see where we go from there.
I don't necessarily know if one of these schools out of these 3 belong, but I'll let Cam interpret this question as he would, and also keeping in mind that there's some SEC fatigue out there, and a lot of people with a playoff expansion inevitable at some point will see that there is some fear out there that the SEC is going to dominate even further in some respects, even though it gives more opportunity to others to gobble up more players and, of course, keep a stranglehold on college football. So Tim's question, and we appreciate the super chat: could a rejuvenated Miami with Cristobal, Michigan, and USC with Lincoln Riley stop the talent from these regions being sucked into the SEC?
I mean, the answer is yes. Could they? And I think that all of those, Michigan is a national brand, a la Notre Dame, where they do recruit. I mean, they dominate the recruiting in the state of Michigan. They go into the state of Ohio and they go toe-to-toe with O State and everybody else who goes in there. It's another recruiting hotbed. And then they also recruit nationally. They go anywhere and everywhere for players. So, yeah, if you're in the same living rooms, there's that. And obviously Michigan had a very strong season getting to the playoff this year and can continue to build the program. And Harbaugh's been recruiting nationally. I mean, you got, what's his name? Rashawn Gary was the number 1 player in America coming from New Jersey going over there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that also goes that way. Cutler Ridge Kane saying Citizen going to Auburn. That would be my guess right now also. But in terms of Miami and USC, resetting the local power in those 2 mega recruiting places that could be transformational for college football, because it's different when those guys just go kind of anywhere, right? But when USC was USC, they had pipelines, all those schools. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Mater Dei, you go there and you want to be the quarterback in Mater Dei because they have a history of performing excellence at 70, 80 years of the quarterback who goes there. Normally you beat out the other 13 guys, because there's usually like 13 or 14 guys. People transfer there and they transfer all around to try to be the quarterback in Mater Dei. It is its own thing, right? You go there, you win that job, you start for a couple of years, you go to USC, you win a Heisman or compete for a Heisman in the national championship, you go to the league. Matt Barkley, Matt Leinart, Mark Sanchez, and more did that very thing, right? So I say all that to say that was always where they went. Bryce Young, Mater Dei, beats out everybody, goes there, has a legendary career, even among Mater Dei quarterbacks. He's at Alabama now, right? The landscape of college football changes if he's at USC. Now, does Alabama go and get another elite quarterback? Probably. Absolutely. I'm not going to say that they don't, but that kid from that place, if you keep that talent there, right? Najee Harris from California. Kendall Milton, 4-star, 5-star running back at Georgia, from Clovis, California. There's guys who have, leaked out of Southern California. Sarah High School, they used to nickname it US Sarah because all those guys, because it's spelled SCERA, but they would always go, you would start at Sarah and then you went to USC. You go to Mater Dei, you go to USC. Now, it's not the exact same pipeline way with Miami, But it's analogous. If you're getting top guys from Aquinas, Central, Northwestern, you get a random All-American at Miramar, Tracy Howard. Another one, Ivan McCartney, should have went to Miami, chose to go to West Virginia, whatever. But South Dade, Palmetto, all of these schools that have this talent, and the center, the gravity of the school in that area keeps more of that elite talent home. That then keeps them away from Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, Texas, USC, whomever, right? Well, USC in terms of Miami, but not in terms of LA thing. But yeah, that redistribution of talent would go part of the way towards a changing of the guard or a re-leveling of the world of college football that is a little bit of different from what we're seeing now. So is it possible that, you put a Lincoln Riley who had, look at Lincoln Riley. That's a perfect example. So many 4- and 5-star guys he got from where? Southern California. Even in this class, Raleek Brown, number 2 running back in this class, was committed to Oklahoma. Riley goes out there. He decommits from Oklahoma. Well, where were you going to go? Bang, he's already committed there. Mario Williams from Southern California. He went out there for a wide receiver. He's now transferring where? Southern California. You see how that's already had an impact in this very class. And you're already seeing it with Miami as well. Now extrapolate that and elevate that. And yeah, it could have that impact. But other schools are not going to go down without a fight because hey, you're infringing upon my resources. So now we have to figure out what we need to do. That's why Nick Saban is looking potentially to offer the job of cornerbacks coach to Travaris Robinson, the DB's coach from Miami, because he's from Miami. He's an incredible coach. He's a wonderful, noted recruiter. And if I leave him on that staff with Mario Cristobal, that's 2 monster recruiters at a minimum on top of the other guys that they're going to bring in. Hold on, wait a minute. I need guys from there. I need a Josh Jobe. I need an Eddie Jackson out of Fort Lauderdale Boyd Anderson High School who played wide receiver. And most people were offering him wide receiver said, you're going to be a safety and you're going to be an all-pro, right? I need that guy. I need a Jordan Battle who Miami stupidly said was too small and not physical enough. And he's a Thorpe Award finalist. I need those guys from there. I need Pat Surtain from American Heritage High School. I need Earl Little Jr. not going to his father's alma mater in Miami, but coming over here from Plantation American Heritage. I need Dallas Turner. I need all of these guys from South Florida. So I'm going to go get someone off that Hurricane staff to curtail some of what that question was talking about from Tim Prangley. Look, man, I'm trying to tell you, yes, the answer to the question is, could these new regimes in these places change the balance of power a little bit? Yes. And Tim, I like to think of myself as a recruiting junkie, and I am honored by that comment that you say that I know my Trojan in California football, because I don't know it other than what I read and what I follow in the world of recruiting, and obviously, watching them and everything. But that statement right there, that is a great, wonderful compliment, and I really do appreciate that.
Absolutely. Tim, thank you so much for that contribution. And the next one coming up as well, I'll say this, not knowing the ages of a lot of the people that comment, just don't believe that everything's going to stay the way it's been. And even though it's been a pretty static landscape in college football for the past 7 or 8 years with the same 4 to 5 schools dominating everything, I've grown up watching, the Pac-12 thrive, which it's a joke right now. Pac-12 football is awful. I'm running a series right now where I'm dissecting the results from the previous 2021 season. The Pac-12 went 2-16 against the other 4 conferences. It was awful, and I go into greater detail than that. But things can change and do change, and other powers emerge and other powers decline. So the landscape can change, definitely, and it will change in some way. Yeah, so Tim is basically saying as well, and we appreciate the contribution, by the way, can we get a USC-Miami rivalry started? I'd much rather spend October in Miami than South Bend.
Look, I was Googling frantically to find a piece that I wrote maybe about, 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, about which non-conference games I would like to see. And I believe that USC was, I think, number 2 on the list for me, behind the University of Michigan, because I grew up in Detroit and I grew up as a Wolverines fan. So I would love to see Miami and Michigan for personal reasons. But outside of that, yeah, it was definitely my top 5, probably my top 2. So I'm here for that. I don't think that the programs have ever played together. And apart from the football, they're pretty close to being mirror images of each other. You know, you have a private school both of them are private schools, both of them are smaller enrollments, both of them a long history of performing success, have individual success, team success, glamour cities, tropical climates, iconic figures in the world of sport, great academic institutions. For me, with a degree in music education, two fantastic schools of art and music. Obviously they have the visual production and filmmaking even more out there at the USC school. But in the school of, music world and everything, there's analogies there. I mean, there's more connections between USC and Miami, the institutions, that people realize, and putting them on the field together, I think, would exacerbate that or really bring those things to the fore. And I think that would really be a great thing. So yeah, we have not ever graced the field together at the same time, but I would totally be here for it.
Cam, are you familiar with Jack Pyburn?
I am familiar with Jack Pyburn. I did see that question earlier. It was a little erroneous because the person asked about the transfer Jack Pyburn. He's not a transfer. He's a high schooler. He is from the Jacksonville area. I think he goes to Bowles, Bolles high school. He was committed to PJ Fleck in Minnesota and then had a monster senior season. Elected not to sign early because teams, including Miami, started kicking the tires. Then he decommitted and is kind of looking around. So his final two right now are Auburn and Miami, with the decision coming next week, Thursday on the 27th, I believe. Did he visit last weekend? Yeah, I believe he did, or took a midweek visit. I thought he did. But yeah, it's really getting him on campus sometime is key between now and his decision date. But he's a guy who had, I forget the exact numbers, but he had double digits approaching 20 sacks or something. He's like 6'4", 260. He played inside linebacker, but also rushed from the edge. So if you're going to a defense and you're looking for somebody to be multiple, he can do that. Moves very well. He could probably be a defensive end with his size. And a thing that I love, because we were debating this before, but Mario Cristobal apparently is telling people, most namely Shamar Stewart, the prized 5-star defensive end prospect, that he plans on playing a 40 front. So with 4 down linemen, not 3. So that's big. And if you're looking for somebody on the edge like that, then you could have Pyburn be that. We'll see where that goes. Obviously, making it into the final 2 is a big step if you're looking to bring him in. But we'll see. So I'm not exactly sure which way to lean on Pyburn, but he's a guy who was a late riser. But if you watch the film, definitely has the physicality I think that Miami's looking for on defense, and will be a good add in this class.
Javier Boy is asking, did you guys catch these clips of Coach Feld starting the workouts? The dude is just different. Did you get a chance to see?
I did. He's a bottle of energy, man. He is, just all gas, no brakes, dude. And you love it. Just pure adrenaline. And you want that from your S&C. You know what I mean? It's a different iteration of it than Feely. Feely was good, but different, he was more lively, built personally and everything. Feld is a big dude. He's probably like 6'2", 240 and beefy, he's muscular. And yeah, just hyper, and you love to see that because you want to have that. And coming from the world of the SEC, he's worked at Georgia, he worked at Alabama. Now he was, the head over there, SNC in Oregon, and you see some big dudes on that team. This is what we're talking about, and this is the kind of physical development that I think is going to be beneficial for those guys in the locker room. So yeah, I did see that. I got my blood pumping. Personally, it's been because of the work at the secret day job. It's been a couple weeks since I've been to the gym. I know that I'm a little chunkier than I used to be. Leave me alone. I still do workouts sometimes, but I like seeing that. I need to get back in there more and just have that mentality in my head of Coach Feld, like, hey, we got to turn that up. But yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Little hate coming from Mario. It's going to be a bust at Miami, according to R.W. Tyndall.
Okay.
That remains to be seen. We have no idea.
That's fine. Decent recruiter, I think that's underselling it greatly. Poor coach, I think that's underselling it greatly as well. Is he a perfect coach? No. Have there been things where like he needs to develop? Absolutely. But truth be told, Mario Cristobal himself is one of the best singular recruiters in the country. And yeah, if you're a poor coach, you don't go to 3 consecutive Pac-12 championship games and win 2 of them. Now, I know that, and sometimes the cycle of the build of the team is not going to be perfect. I think that's, well, not I think. If you go back and you look at the records, that's what happened to them against Utah this year. It was just, and they'd gotten in Utah's ass a couple of times last few years. So that was all this year, both games was some get back for them, finally getting over that hurdle and everything. And it was just what Utah did well, just trumped everything and exposed everything that Oregon, the build of this team this year, did poorly. Every team is not going to be at 100 rating and 100% optimization and performance every single year. And okay, Utah got them. Not going to lie. And yeah, they really got some get back in those games. But to call him a poor coach, I just don't think that to be accurate.
Yeah, if you're going to assign numbers to the statement that was just made, you're going to give Mario Cristobal, it appears, if I'm interpreting that statement correctly, he's giving him about a 5 as a recruiter and about a 2 or a 3 as a coach, where in reality, based on his track record, if you know football and can fairly and objectively assess his record, it's more like an 8.5 or a 9 as a recruiter, and at least a 5, if not a 6 or a 6.5. You could even argue a 7 as a coach.
Right. And again, if you think of all these coaches as being, good and everything, right? Other than Kyle Whittingham, who's a damn good coach himself, right?
Yeah.
Who else is out there winning Pac-12 championships? Not USC. That job is getting people fired for the inability to do that because you're getting beaten by Oregon and everything. You know what I mean? Like so it's just like, oh, well, he's, poor and teams still win games, bro. Teams still look pretty good. Numbers got rung up, all these kind of things. So, but hey, if you think that, I will empower you to have that thought. I just disagree.
If you look at what Mario Cristobal has accomplished since 2018, which I believe was his first full season there, then they won the conference championship at the Rose Bowl the next year. If you take out all the obvious, fill in the blanks, you know who the 4 or 5 programs are. There's only, he's in the top 10. If you're looking at what has a coach accomplished in the last 3 to 4 seasons, start with national championships, conference championships, winning 10 and 11 games, finishing in the top. Yeah, there is room to knock what he's done, the 3 Utah games and so forth. But he's in that top 10. There's not many other people.
Again, go look up the records. And in real life, you're not going to run off 493-0 like you are on your NCAA dynasty, regardless of the difficulty you play on. You know what I mean? This is not going to be that. But I think that he is a damn fine recruiter. It's already been proven true by Cyrus Moss and Nigel Kelly, if nothing else, in this here recruiting class. And I mean, if a poor coach is 3 consecutive conference championship games and 2 championships, sign me up for poor, because we haven't been anywhere near that in Miami. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, Cam, because I get into these kind of conversations with fans every day. And it's like when people argue schedules. I get thrown schedules all the time that they don't play anyone. They don't play, like nobody plays anyone. Every team that gets brought up, their schedule's trash and their schedule's trash. And if you try to point out to them that they played this collection of good teams, they all get labeled as trash as well, when basically you're chasing your tail and there's only about 3 teams that these people consider to be good teams in the country. And you're like, well, you're being unrealistic, because the only teams that you consider to be any good are like Georgia and Alabama and maybe somebody else. So these other teams are good. Kentucky's good. Teams like that they're good teams. Arkansas is a good team, if you're excluding them from being qualified as good teams, like top 15 to 20 teams, then you're really talking about nobody, because
Right.
nobody's beating those other teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same here with the evaluation. Like, people will say, well, these coaches are trash, that coach is a trash, this one's trash. Well, what's your bar? Well, then the bar becomes, when you really get down to it, people expect a national championship. Well, there's only 4 or 5 of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Before we let you go, Cam, I don't know that you covered the recruiting weekend that just passed, nor the one to come.
So it's this weekend and next weekend.
Okay.
The ones. So Elite Prospect Day is Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. There is the Battle, I believe it is, 7-on-7 tournament in Miami, which is one of the more loaded ones in the country. There's like one in Orlando that's usually pretty popping. There's IMG Nationals. There's usually like one in Vegas. And those are like the real super major 7-on-7 tournaments. Battle of Miami being either in that class or like right in the next tier down, right? So if you're talking about like, yeah, they would maybe be the Cincinnati of the playoff as opposed to the other three. Like they're up there, but in that realm. And you get teams from all over. I mean, obviously the major players in South Florida are going to be there. So your Miami Immortals, your South Florida Express, Florida Fire, Pro Impact from Jacksonville. That's your Trinity Christian guys. Your bootleggers from Louisiana, Mississippi area. And then teams from all over. Cam Newton All-Stars usually comes down. There's a couple other ones. There's in the Midwest. I forget the Midwest teams. I think they've changed some of their names and some of the ones on the West Coast. But pretty much, if you're one of the uber elite 7-on-7 programs, you're going to find your happy ass in Miami for Battle Miami tournament this weekend. And so that's why the University of Miami decided to eschew official visits this weekend and then focus instead on the 23, 24, and 25 classes and inviting to this event just the cream of the crop. I know I will probably, cull together a list that's out there on some of these other websites. But I mean, you got, I think, 9 5-stars in the future classes already confirmed for this event, with just a slew of other people. So, I mean, if you're talking your guys in the locally, your Brandon Innes's and Jalen Browns and Hakeem Williamses and just guys from all over. I mean, all those guys are wide receivers, but there's more, trust me. The state of Florida currently has 5 of the top 7 running backs in the 2023 recruiting class. I believe of those 5, 3 to 4 of them are going to be in Miami this weekend, including Richard Young, who's currently, I believe, ranked as the number 1. Peyton Kirkland, a 4-star offensive lineman from Orlando. I'm just picking names off the top of my head right now. But, I mean, it's more talent than you can shake a stick at. It is guys from everywhere. Also, I wanted to say, somebody asked me about the quarterbacks before. Remember, they were like, oh, do you prefer this dude or that dude as the 5-star quarterbacks in that next recruiting class? I forget the kid's name, but one of them, not Ayamaleva, he's from California. The other one in that question plays for Detroit Martin Luther King High School. The team that he plays for is going to be down, and he, as a 5-star top 5 player in this next recruiting class, is going to be on campus for Elite Prospect Day. It is Paradise Camp, so the camp in the summer where they would come and work out, that has had more talent at it than any other elite recruiting event in the country since the inception of that event. If you look back, even with like Nike's The Opening, that elite prospect thing that used to be in Oregon, they moved it to Texas because people couldn't get all the way to Oregon. So we're going to put it centrally located in the country and make that the hub. The first 2 Paradise Camps had more talent than The Opening, which is ostensibly all Americans everywhere, right? With that being said, Elite Prospect Day will have more talent there than Paradise Camp had, or it's at least comparable. I mean, this is Mario Cristobal flexing his recruiting muscles and saying, hey, we're going to do something different. And to his credit, like I said before, it's not going to have a catchy name or you're going to have to infer anything. This is Elite Prospect Day. Mark, I'm inviting you to Elite Prospect Day. I don't got to figure it out. I don't have to need a code. Coach just told me he's inviting players to Elite Prospect Day, and I'm going. What you think that means, right? So, yeah, this is where the foundation is built for the future classes, because obviously Cristobal's coming in pretty much mid-cycle for the 23s, because you're at the end of the cycle for 22. For elite players, it really takes 2 years and some change, right, to really build that connection. So coming in the spring of their junior year, so basically like almost a full year, you're coming in midstream, mid-cycle. So we got to get that popping. But you're coming at the beginning of the cycle for 24, 25, and on. And just saying, hey, this is who we are. This is how it's going to be. We're going to be different here at Miami, even than we've been. So doing that and having all those guys, and again, sure, Harold Perkins. No, he's not coming this weekend, but he's supposed to be coming with Shamar Stewart the next weekend. But all the guys of that same caliber in the future classes, you're going to be able to look around and say, if I'm that guy, not even at my own high school, not even in my own town, but in my state and in this country playing this game of football, if I'm that dude, right, at my position, and I look over and there's another guy who's as good, if not better, or as, near, and at my position, and the next position, and the supporting position. So if I'm that quarterback, I'm seeing multiple running backs, multiple receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen. And then if I'm on defense, look, we can run and get the ball. I play DN, you play DN, cool. So I'm going to be on one side, Mark, you on the other side. Who's going to be in the middle? Okay, we got Nick and we got Joe. So it's me, Mark, Nick, and Joe on that defensive line. And look, these other dudes who are standing around, y'all coming in when we get tired. And then the linebackers, y'all going to eat up the blocks. We're going to flow through. We're going to make the plays. Boom, boom, boom. And you got elite. Oh, now, and of course, swagger, all the defensive backs, y'all going to get the pressure, or you going to eat up the blocks so the linebacker get the pressure, get to that quarterback, pick six, baby, coming my way. We strutting up the sideline, celebrating and high-fiving because I'm that cornerback. I'm that safety that covers 2/3 of the earth, right? Or, well, 1/3 of the earth, and the other 2/3 is covered by water. But that other third that's on land, I got all that. And everywhere you look, there are those caliber of players. And that's coming up this weekend on Saturday at the U, which is going to be incredible for one. So that's for the future. If you look for the present, as in 2 weeks' time, on February the 2nd, so I got some typing to do on these recruiting notebooks and other pieces, right? For National Signing Day. The last weekend visits are always, not always, because you don't want to go in absolutes, but more often than not, the most impactful ones, especially for guys who may be not all the way firm on a decision. And sometimes with guys who are very firm on a decision and they go on that last weekend visit and all of a sudden that decision gets firmly changed. Here's the list of guys supposed to be visiting next weekend. 5-star Shamar Stewart, top 10 player in America. R. Mason Thomas, from edge rusher from Cardinal Gibbons here in Fort Lauderdale. He's committed to Iowa State, but he's coming down. Josh Connerly, the 5-star offensive tackle. Anthony Munoz, All-American tackle or offensive lineman of the year. He's supposed to be coming down. Christian Miller from Georgia, a 4-star defensive tackle. Trayvonte Citizen, who we already talked about, running back from Louisiana. Amon Moten, younger brother of Anthony Moten, also from Cardinal Gibbons. Anthony Moten, who went to St. Thomas Aquinas and then played for the U. His younger brother, 6'3", 290 defensive tackle. And the aforementioned Harold Perkins, number 1 linebacker in America, the number 4 overall player in America. That's the list of official visits on the schedule for next weekend as of now. Okay. Now, if everybody makes that visit, great. There might be a secret visit or a late addition, also great. You also got to see if visits get canceled. Apparently, according to some chatter that was out there today, Harold Perkins wants to come to visit Miami, but some people in his circle, like his family people, they're not as high on Miami as he might be to learn about them. So he wants to take the visit, but mama, grandmama, cousin, uncle, whomever might block that. So we'll see if he actually shows up on campus. And I'm sure that Jimbo Fisher is trying to block that as well, because they would do that at Florida State. And Nick Saban totally does do that. You ain't taking no visit somewhere else. What you mean? Number 4 player in America, number 1 in the state, number 1 linebacker? No. Kill that. Hey, I need that booster to go over there. If you're working on the NIL deal, I need you to finish that NIL deal. And if you're not doing an NIL deal, call the dude who has a duffel bag and go drop a duffel bag off at the house, right? Because those are the things that happen with elite players. So both this weekend and next weekend, you have some really, really elite groups of talent that are coming to Miami. hopefully. And obviously how those visits go will tell the story of this recruiting class so far. And then when the recruiting class from high school is finished, then we'll probably circle back and look at maybe a couple other guys in the recruiting or the transfer portal as well. So yeah, recruiting never sleeps. And, Mario Cristobal has been like that. He's at the facility at 6 a.m., even during recruiting season. He went at 12:01 a couple weeks ago, or last week when the recruiting dead period opened, Wednesday night / Thursday morning, or Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. Right at 12:01, Cristobal didn't go because he's saving his personal in-home visit. But the staff, they sent 5 dudes to Shamar Stewart's house at 12:01 a.m. Because right at midnight, I'm not sleeping. Right at midnight, what am I doing? I'm sending coaches to go talk to you because that's how important you are. You're more important than my sleep and my coach's sleep because we got to talk to you. That's how important you are to this team. And that's the kind of mentality that you have to be the elite kind of recruiter that Mario Cristobal is. So both this weekend for the future classes and next weekend for this current class, the game is afoot. So be sure that, you obviously follow the visits. Be sure that, you check out as much. But getting people on campus really, really, really counts. And especially for the future kids, this does count as that out-of-state unofficial visit. I would like another one that's not on a super event day. I need them to just buy a $49 Southwest flight, fly down from Detroit, and then go to campus. But this does count to that. So if you get people on campus, especially out-of-staters, elite players, it needs to be an official visit and another unofficial, if not 2. This would be one of those for a lot of those guys that are coming down this weekend. And I'm really excited to see what that movement's going to be. And the story of these recruiting classes will not be written for a while, but this is going to be a big part of that story. Trust and believe.
Kim, is posted by 247 Sports 5 minutes ago, Miami Hurricanes coach Mario Cristobal will now be looking for a new secondary coach. Secondary coach Travaris Robinson is expected to take the same position with Alabama.
Well, there you go. So that was what up, and I see it on the timeline as I click back over. Yep. I mean, hey, look. I'm sorry, hold on. Yeah, he is an elite coach. He's an elite developer. He's an elite recruiter. And like I talked about a couple minutes earlier, Nick Saban ain't no fool. And he sees if they're building this in Miami and you have a coach who's gone or, whatever, I'm not even going to build a staff. I'm going to build a staff by taking someone off of your staff, right? So it's the double whammy. It's like, when you flip somebody from Florida or Florida State, not only are they not going to Florida State, they're also coming here. So it hurts their class by not having them there, and it boosts us. So it's the double whammy. And that's what that is really in effect, because he sees, okay, this is what Cristobal's building. I'm going to take one of those building blocks away. So not only am I taking it away, but then I'm using that elite coach here, right? So you're going to be looking for another coach, obviously. I would say Corey Raymond would have been the number one on my list, but obviously he just left LSU to go to Florida. And you're going to have to find somebody else to go with that and fill that slot. So obviously you're getting just a live reaction. And I mean, this was expected. Well, that the offer was going to come. I didn't know that we were going to get the news, obviously, that he is leaving or reportedly leaving, which is probably soon to be forthcoming and everything. So, hey, look, Cristobal's already been calling people. He's already been looking and seeing, testing the temperature on, do you want to, maybe come to Miami in this role? And I'm sure that he's not new to this. He's true to this. So he had to have seen this as being a possibility. So he's not starting from scratch on finding a defensive backs coach or another coach to come in. He's not starting from scratch now. It's just, okay, that list that I otherwise was hoping not to have to use now becomes fully active. And now let's press and say, okay, cool. Which one of these guys are we going to really make a move or try to make a move to bring in here? So, yeah, T-Rob, obviously, I've been wanting him in Miami for years and years and years. And having had him here for that 1 year, great. I wish it would have continued. But if he goes on to Alabama, again, for personal and professional reasons, I respect people's decisions. I wish him the best. And then we just need to find the best candidate that we can, coach to come in and continue the legacy of the Hurricanes, join this group. And also, again, whoever that is, I don't know that you're going to find a one-to-one recruiter replacement, but it has to not be a big gap of this is what T-Rob could recruit at the level, and this is the level that the next person does. There has to be someone who's, if not super elite, at least well above average as you continue to build up the staff. But, I have full faith and confidence in Coach Cristobal to be able to find that person. And again, he's not starting from scratch. I know that he already has a list to start making some calls.
3:30 on the line. Chuck C., thank you for the contribution. I'm liking what I'm seeing and hearing. Seems as though many folks are not up to speed on the newfound resources and commitment at UM, at least fans of others. Truly a sleeping giant situation.
Yeah, just really committing the resources to it. And, you have the Ruiz family and the Life Wallet NIL deals, and you're seeing those getting announced pretty much daily. Other things, I don't know if these deals that they already had, like there were the players who had like the butcher in South Miami or whatever, getting them like Wagyu beef and everything. Like, that's a deal that I still want to continue. So, I mean, hey, let's see if we can get that back, because that would be great, but yeah, it's a thing where, just people say, oh, Miami's not back. Miami's not back. We've sane Miami fans have never claimed Miami to be back. There was that time in 2017 when it looked like that could be nearly approaching, and then it all fell apart. But yeah, it's there is optimism, and then again, you do have a coach who's been proven, and you saw what happened with a proven coach with Mark Richt for the basically 2 years. You win 9 games in a bowl game the first year, you go 10-0 the next year, and then, shout out to Chinua Achebe, but things fall apart. And then he was at the end of his string. You got Mario Cristobal, who's a young coach, man, with still demonstrated excellence. So that has to be, at a minimum, engendering of hope for people. And we'll see. But, with that, building a staff also is going to have to be building in probably a defensive back coach, or with T-Rob going to Alabama. But those are things that can happen.
Folks, get your full take of Miami football at State of the U. What's going on over there?
Justin DeTavio did a deep dive into Jason Candle as potential offensive coordinator, because it was reported that Mark Cristobal was looking at the Toledo head coach to potentially come over as offensive coordinator. We're seeing, or I believe that today, maybe that's not going to happen. But again, these are things that are, Mark Cristobal is really, really close to the vest with it. So, yeah, you're going to hear, like, basically when things get announced. There's not a lot of leaks from the building, which is great. But Justin DeTavio did a deep dive. He hopped on the Twitter and he did a look at Jason Candle and some things that does well and like where that could fit in with Miami's offense. Also wrote about that. Also get back into the Storm Centers, at least a couple of times a week for your recap stuff. I definitely got to get in here with some recruiting stuff. I had to work today, which I usually don't work on Wednesdays. So going to take some time this evening and tomorrow to get prepared for this weekend and do some stuff. We have some basketball coverage because the number 1 team in the ACC are your Miami Hurricanes men's basketball team. Beat Duke at Duke, blew out North Carolina last night they were up by 30-something in that game. 5-1 atop the table with head-to-head wins against the other teams up there. Pretty awesome. Got Florida State this weekend. The only loss that we have was a very shenanigans loss on a terrible call at the end of that game against Florida State. So hopefully we're able to rebound there. So there's that. John Reynolds is going to pop in with baseball. I saw that he sent me an email about baseball coverage, so I got to circle back. So obviously with the baseball team, hopefully rebounding from a bad season last year. And then there's always going to be the recruiting stuff. So I'm going to dig back into that. So we have all that and more up on stateoftheu.com coming up this week, next week, every week. So Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. The website, like you see it on the screen, is stateoftheu.com. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. You can interact with me in any and all of those places. And we hope that you come on over and fan with us.
Cam, we do this show and we do it to the level at which we do because of you. So I hope everybody understands and appreciates that. Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Eastern time, folks. Be back and bring some folks with you. We had up to about 340 on the line. We can do even better than that, but we appreciate you being here and bringing folks with you. Thank you so much. Wednesday at 7. See you next week.